I had finished a series called The Manhunter for CBS, and it was a year or so later. And I was leaving in the airport. I had my golf clubs, I had a blazer on, and a bunch of black teenagers ran up to me because they recognized me from The Manhunter, and I was chatting with them. And this friend of mine who's a writer, who's written a number of books, was looking and just thought it was a great image of this blonde white guy who's big, dealing with all these teenage black kids. And he said, you know, that's the beginning of a series.
It's like we got ourselves a new coach.
That's right.
Bruce Paltrow and I had gotten to know each other, and I came to him and I said, I have this idea, what do you think? And he liked it, and so we sat down and started to flesh out some of the basic ideas.
You guys are pathetic.
Coolidge, you are the biggest crybaby I've ever seen.
He had all these notions of what he wanted me to do, and he said, don't give him an inch, never give him an inch, give no quarter ever, you've got to be tough.
What's wrong with you? Don't be grabbing me, man.
Next time you go right through that locker.
I don't think The White Shadow was sold as a basketball show so much as a fish out of water show. A white, successful pro basketball player who winds up in an inner city school with a ragtag group of players.
Of the original 8, all of them really could play basketball. Timmy Van Patten, who played Salami, was a wrestler at Massapequa High School. He absolutely was not a basketball player.
I stop it right there.
When I went in to audition, I sort of got through the reading portions of it, and then the last test was to see if you could actually play basketball.
I don't want all you guys to line up here at the free throw line.
I showed up on a stage over at CBS where they set up a hoop, and all the hopefuls were there.
We would read some people who couldn't bounce the ball. They were rejected by virtue of no talent with the round ball.
That'll be quite enough. Thank you very much. We'll let you know.
I was a high school wrestler. I really rarely touched a basketball. So my play was to just sort of hang around and not be noticed, which was hard because I was one of the only white guys there. And so I was sort of like, I would just be hiding in the background. Occasionally I'd loft up a ball, but I'd make sure that I had somebody as a screen so that the network people couldn't really see me. But anyway, I managed to get past that and ended up on the show for the run of the show.
We wanted young people who could act, but we wanted them to be comfortable out there playing basketball. For it to be legitimate, to hold an audience, they have to believe that we're the real deal, that these kids can play.
Don't you ever miss?
Once, during a hurricane in Oakland.
Often, a guy would throw one up from half court and it would go in. I saw Ken Howard do that at an affiliate meeting once. You sort of have to have athletic ability to be able to play badly, because there were times when we had to show them making mistakes, show miscues on the court. You got to be able to throw a pass. You got to be able to catch a ball. You got to be able to pop a shot from the top of the key. Unless you're capable athletically, coordinated at the very least, you're not going to be able to do that.
Kevin Hooks was a very good basketball player. He'd played on his high school team in Philadelphia, been a starter and gone to the city championship, so he'd really done his stuff. I said to Bruce, I'd love to have one player who I have to look up at. He said, well, I'm 6'6", you know. I said, ugh, easier said than done. But sure enough, we found him.
You know who I am? Warren Coolidge.
Here was this big, sweet-faced kid, you know, tall as could be, a giant, Byron Stewart. He could really play basketball.
Kid's another Dr. J. He's a star attraction.
That's right.
Ken was attached to the project. I think Bruce always had Ken in mind when we started. Ken was a star.
I was always a star. I was an All-American in college. I started with the Chicago Bulls.
I'd gone to Amherst College. One of my jokes when I was there as a freshman playing basketball is I said, for the first time in my life, I'm the biggest and the blackest guy on the floor.
The most athletic? The funniest?
Amherst then was pretty much predominantly white, but I played on a high school team. I was the only white guy in the starting 5, in fact, in the first 6. And it was a team that was very good. It was a small high school, and we always won the league.
Everybody on that show could play basketball.
They knew basketball so well that if we asked them, what are you going to do when so-and-so throws the ball to so-and-so, and he knew exactly how he'd wind up and where he'd be. I knew basketball as a fan and going to games, but I never played this and I never studied it because I also like football and other things just as much. But here now I had to like basketball more than all of them, and in a short time, working with these talented people, I did.
When we had to shoot basketball, it was the only thing on the show that was really exactly mapped out. The basketball was specifically choreographed.
We were prepared, as the director and the cameraman, we were prepared for what we wanted to get on the screen and get the principle across. And it's so believable when you see it. You know that they knew what they were doing.
The show was certainly the first network program to really kind of accurately portray a sport. You know, you got the impression that these kids could play. It didn't look like a bunch of actors.
Dave DeBuscher, you know, who was the big star for the Knicks and all, he told me something that was really kind of an acting lesson, too. He said that when he saw the pilot, there was a scene early on, the first time you see me touch a ball, where I pick up a ball and I just put up a one-hander. He said he was watching and he turned to his wife when I did that and he said, oh, he's a player. You know, because there's a kind of behavior, the way you handle a ball, the way you shoot. That's what we cared about. The basketball has to be legitimate. It has to be believable. It really does. But it's not that it's about basketball. It's a springboard for everything else.
The show did not duck anything, not one topic.
You think you're homosexual?
I'm gonna have a baby.
It was grounded in issues people were dealing with, but they didn't get to see them in the average television show at all.
On network television, you couldn't deal with the realities of inner city life in as real a manner as you need to make people say, oh, I think that's an accurate portrayal. We sort of broke some ground here. You know, Bruce's idea of getting inside that world worked. And it worked because he wrote it much realer than anything up to that point.
We had these people acting for us that lived a lot of these situations. These were just people, and this is who they were, and this is really who they were.
It was so close to the heart and close to who I am in a lot of ways, and it was, in a way, paying homage to coaches. Coaches, I mean the big coaches, Mike Krzyzewski and Jim Calhoun and all, they treat me like I'm another coach. They just kind of include me, like somehow I'm the make-believe coach who did it well enough that I just got to include me. Come on, you meet so-and-so. They're always very good to me. So it's a whole world that opened up to me in a way that I am still part of that world of basketball that I love.
The show is all about caring.
You got a minute? I got something I'd like to talk to you about.
For next year's All-City Guard, I got even 2 minutes.
The coach cared for us, cared for each other. We learned from each other. The kids learned from each other, and which is really true in life.
The thing that made that show succeed was the truth at its heart.
I think at the heart of the show, coaches very often can get closer to young people than anybody. Now you get into a school under stress, a school that's in a ghetto, and kids, a lot of whom don't have fathers. There's crime, and there's violence, and there's danger, and there's the allure of early sexual practices and drugs and everything else. There, very often, a coach can really be a mentor.
I'll be behind you every step of the way.
All right. Yeah. Like a white shadow.